Have you ever looked at someone and wondered, is there something deeper going on in their life that they're not saying out loud? Well, here's the fascinating truth. Psychologists agree that our behaviours, our little quirks, our moods, even the way we carry ourselves can sometimes reveal hidden truths about our emotional and intimate lives. Yes, that includes our sexual activity or the lack of it. Hey, it's Amelia, and welcome back to Dark Psychology. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's both curious and revealing. 13 secret signs that a woman hasn't had sex for a long time. Now, before we get started, let's clear something up. This isn't an exact science. Every woman is unique, and no single sign can give you the full picture. But when these signals start stacking up, they can provide intriguing insight into her emotional world and what she might secretly be craving. So stay with me till the end, because Signal K10 will absolutely shock you. And at the very end, I'll give you a bonus tip on how to read these signs with empathy and respect, so you don't just spot them, but also know how to handle them the right way. Sign number Nugra 1, social media, a window into her world. Have you ever deep dived into someone's social media and noticed a sudden shift? Maybe her posts are more frequent than usual. Maybe she's sharing more selfies, adding flirty captions, or posting bold, attention-grabbing updates. Psychologists suggest that when a woman hasn't been sexually active for a while, she might unconsciously try to fill that void with validation online. It's her way of stirring up interaction, sparking conversations, or just reminding the world and maybe herself that she's still desirable. Think about it. Likes, comments, and attention on social media can temporarily replace the intimacy and validation that comes from a close physical connection. It's subtle, but it is there. But here's the warning. Don't jump to conclusions. Social media is just a glimpse of her world, not the whole story. Some people are naturally expressive online, but if you notice a sudden shift, it could be a clue worth paying attention to. Sign number 2, the confidence conundrum. A silent signal picture this. You've always known her as confident, radiant, full of life, but suddenly her sparkle feels dimmed. Her energy isn't quite the same. She seems a little more subdued, a little less sure of herself. Psychologists reveal that periods of sexual inactivity can sometimes shake a woman's confidence, almost like tremors that quietly disrupt her self-image. Intimacy at its core isn't just about the physical act, it's about validation, closeness, and feeling desired. When that disappears for a while, it can ripple through her behaviour. She may still smile, still laugh, but underneath she may feel less magnetic, less vibrant. And here's where it gets fascinating. This dip in confidence isn't always obvious to everyone, but if you know her well, you'll notice the subtle difference in how she carries herself. Think of it this way. Our intimate lives are deeply connected to our emotional flow. When one goes quiet, the other often reflects it. 3, laughter. A love language or a cry for connection. Ever been in a crowd and suddenly heard one laugh that cuts through the noise? Loud, unexpected, almost demanding attention. Psychologists have a curious observation about this. That burst of laughter may not just be about amusement. It might be a subconscious call for connection. Studies suggest that when a woman hasn't been sexually active for a while, her need for validation can surface in other ways. Laughter is one of them. Think of it like this. Laughter is a universal love language, a way to connect without words. But when it's extra loud, extra noticeable, or a little more frequent than usual, it could be her way of reaching out, saying, "See me, hear me, pay attention to me." Of course, laughter is as unique as a fingerprint. Some women are naturally bubbly and expressive, But if her laughter feels like it's carrying an edge of need rather than pure joy, it might be telling a bigger story. Sign number 4, the people pleaser. An indication of intimacy, inactivity. Ever met someone who goes above and beyond for others, always putting everyone else first, almost to the point where it feels excessive? Here's a fascinating insight. Studies suggest that this kind of over-the-top kindness can sometimes be a response to sexual inactivity. Why? Because when a woman isn't getting intimacy in one part of her life, she may try to replace that closeness by pouring herself into others, seeking connection and validation through constant acts of giving. It's almost like she's saying, if I can't feel wanted in one way, I'll make myself needed in another. But here's the caution. Don't assume every people pleaser is sexually inactive. Altruism can be part of someone's core personality. The key is to notice changes. A sudden shift where she's giving more than usual, almost desperately seeking appreciation. That's when it could be a sign of deeper unmet needs. Sign number 5. Touchy topics. A public affection, a playful connection. Now let's talk about touch. Have you ever noticed a woman becoming more tactile in public, more handsy, more playful, more physically expressive? Psychologists suggest that when a woman hasn't been sexually active for some time, she might channel her unfulfilled desire for intimacy into casual, non-romantic touches. A gentle graze on your arm, a playful nudge, a lingering handshake. These little gestures can act like substitutes for deeper physical connection. It's her body's way of satisfying a craving for closeness, even if just in small socially acceptable doses. But, and this is crucial, respect and consent are always the rule. Just because she's touchy doesn't mean she wants more. It simply means her subconscious is seeking connection. It's your job to read it carefully, respond respectfully, and never push past. Boundaries. Sign number 6. The green-eyed glance. Envy or an unvoiced craving. Ever caught her watching other couples with just a little too much interest? Maybe she notices the way a man holds his partner's hand, or how two people laugh together and you spot that flicker in her eyes, a mix of curiosity and something deeper. Psychologists suggest that this kind of envy isn't always simple jealousy. Sometimes it's a reflection of her own longing. If she hasn't experienced intimacy in a while, seeing others enjoy that closeness can spark a silent craving inside her. It's less about resenting others and more about her own desire being mirrored back at her. But here's the key. Envy is complex. It can come from many places: insecurity, comparison, or even past heartbreak. Still, when you notice her consistently showing interest or even frustration about other people's relationships, it could be her unspoken way of saying, I want that too. Sign number 7, the spark. Heightened arousal or a silent signal. This one is subtle but powerful. Have you ever noticed her blushing more easily? Maybe her breath quickens in the situations where the mood shifts or she seems extra sensitive to sensual cues. Research suggests that extended periods of sexual inactivity can actually heighten a woman's physical responses to stimuli. Her body becomes more reactive, her blush deeper, her pulse quicker, her attention sharper because she hasn't released that tension in a while. It's almost like her body is saying what her words don't. I've been away from intimacy and now my senses are on high alert. But remember, arousal is personal. Everyone has different thresholds and boundaries always matter. Don't assume, don't push, just observe. If you see these signals combined with other signs, you might be witnessing her quiet way of revealing that she's been out of the dating game for some time. Sign number 8, super sensitivity, an emotional echo, or just hyper-tuned? Here's where things get really interesting. Have you ever noticed a woman who reacts more intensely than usual to everyday situations? Maybe she cries at a movie scene that others barely blink at, or she dives passionately into debates where emotions run high. Psychologists propose that heightened emotional sensitivity can sometimes be a side effect of sexual inactivity. Why? Because intimacy doesn't just release physical tension, it balances emotions too. Without that outlet, her subconscious may amplify her pet's emotional responses as a kind of substitute. It's like her mind is overcompensating for what she's not. Receiving physically, that tear-jerking scene becomes overwhelming. That minor disagreement feels explosive. That tender gesture hits her right in the heart. But here's the reminder. Some people are naturally sensitive, and that's beautiful. What makes this sign stand out is when her reactions feel newly intensified, as if something beneath the surface has shifted. Sign number 9, fear of loss, a red herring or a silent alarm. Have you ever noticed a woman who seems unusually anxious about losing the people closest as to her? She might cling tighter to friendships, constantly check in, or even show visible worry when someone seems distant. Psychologists suggest that this fear of loss can sometimes surface when a woman hasn't experienced intimacy for a while. Without the security and comfort of a close romantic bond, her subconscious may amplify fears of abandonment. It's as if her mind is saying, if I don't have new intimacy in my life, I can't afford to lose the emotional connections I already have. But let's be clear, fear of loss can also stem from personal history, trauma, or general anxiety. It's not always linked to intimacy. Still, if paired with other signs, it could be a subtle alarm bell revealing that she's longing for closeness she hasn't felt in some time. Sign number 10, motherhood instincts. A subtle hint. This one might surprise you. Ever noticed a woman suddenly leaning into nurturing behaviours, caring more for friends, pets, or even colleagues, almost as if her motherly instincts are turned up a notch? Psychologists suggest that this shift can sometimes be linked to sexual inactivity. Why? Because intimacy doesn't just fulfill physical needs, it also satisfies emotional cravings for connection and care. When that's missing, those nurturing instincts may spill over into other areas of her life as a substitute. It's her unique way of meeting an emotional need, redirecting that desire for closeness into acts of caretaking. But again, context matters. Many women are naturally nurturing, so this sign only carries weight if it feels like a noticeable shift in her usual behaviour. And here's the hook. Number 10 often shocks people because it's not what you'd expect. Instead of being about physical withdrawal, it's about emotional overflow. The urge to care more deeply when she isn't being cared for intimately. Sign your 11, the cling conundrum. A cry for intimacy. Have you ever had a friend who suddenly became your shadow? Constant texts, calls, and an overwhelming desire to spend time with you. Experts suggest that clinginess can sometimes signal a deeper unmet need, intimacy. If she hasn't been in the romantic loop for a while, she might reach out in other ways, seeking closeness to replace what's missing. This doesn't mean she's needy in a negative sense. It means her heart and mind are searching for connection. That clinginess, when sudden and unusual, could be her subconscious saying, I miss intimacy. I miss feeling close to someone. But here's where sensitivity matters. If you notice this behaviour, approach it with respect. Instead of judging, listen. Sometimes what looks like clinginess is really a vulnerable attempt to bridge the gap left by absence of intimacy. Sign Mudrant 12. Friend zoning, a defense mechanism or a dating detour. Ever scratched your head wondering why a woman seems to put everyone firmly in the friend zone? She's kind, warm, and engaging. But when it comes to taking things further, she quickly creates distance. Psychologists suggest this. Behaviour can sometimes signal a break from intimacy. By keeping potential partners at arm's length, she's subconsciously protecting herself from the vulnerability that comes with romance. In other words, the friend zone becomes a shield. It's her way of saying, I'm not ready to open that part of myself right now. But here's the thing. You can't always assume this is about intimacy. Some women just value platonic connections deeply. The sign becomes meaningful only when you notice her consistently blocking out romance, almost like she's on a dating detour, giving herself space before re-entering the game. Sign number 13, yearning for dominance, a sign of inactivity. Now this one dives into more subtle territory. Have you observed a woman who seems comfortable, even eager about being dominated in non-sexual contexts? Maybe she likes strong personalities taking the lead, or she yields more easily in group decisions. Psychologists suggest this preference could sometimes stem from suppressed desires in her intimate life. If she hasn't been sexually active for a while, her subconscious might redirect that craving for dominance into other areas, work, friendships, or social dynamics. But here's the key reminder. Dominance preferences can also be part of her personality or the lifestyle. It doesn't always mean inactivity. The important thing is to see if this behaviour is new or more intense than before. That's when it might signal a deeper story. Bonus sign, Jugger 14, restless energy, the hidden overflow. Have you ever noticed a woman who suddenly seems restless, pacing more, fidgeting with little things, or throwing herself into constant activity? Maybe she takes on extra work, goes to the gym more often, or even stays up late scrolling endlessly on her phone. Psychologists suggest that this restless energy can sometimes be linked to a lack of intimacy. Here's why. Sexual connection is not just physical release. It's also a natural regulator for stress, mood, and emotional balance. When that release hasn't happened for a while, the energy doesn't disappear. It redirects. So, instead of quiet evenings, you might see her filling her schedule with endless distractions. Instead of stillness, you notice movement, fidgeting, overthinking, multitasking. It's her body and mind saying, I've got energy to burn and nowhere to channel it. But here's the fascinating twist. This restlessness isn't always negative. Some women transform that energy into productivity, creativity, or ambition. They might pour it into work projects, personal goals, or fitness. On the surface, it looks like drive, but beneath it can also be a silent echo of intimacy missing from their lives. Remember, context matters. Restless energy can be a personality trait or just stress, but when you see it paired with other signs like clinginess, sensitivity, or the confidence dip, it paints a bigger picture. She's carrying emotional weight that intimacy once helped lighten. So, there you have it. 13 secret signs. A woman hasn't had sex for a long time, from sudden shifts in social media to nurturing instincts to friend zoning as a shield. Each clue offers a glimpse into how intimacy or the lack of it can echo through her behaviour. But here's the real question. Are you paying attention? Because once you learn to read these cues, you don't just see behaviours. You see stories. You see the hidden layers behind her laughter, her touch, her habits, and her emotions. And that awareness gives you a rare advantage in understanding women at a deeper level. But remember, these signs are not about judgment. They're about empathy. Every woman has her own reasons, her own history, her own rhythm. Recognizing these signs is not about labeling her, it's about connecting with her more authentically. So what's next? If you want to take this further, check out my next video, where women secretly like to be touched. It reveals the hidden signals of female desire and how to respond the right way. And if you enjoyed today's insights, make sure to like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to Dark Psychology for more powerful truths about attraction, intimacy, and relationships. I'm Amelia. Thank you for watching. And remember, when you learn to read between the lines, you'll never miss what's really going on beneath the surface.